Right, well, here we are. I'm Matt, and today we're going to have a little talk about Git. So why would you use Git? You would use Git to keep track of what happens to your documents and files. So for example, let's say that you save a file, or at least you try to save a file, and instead you accidentally hit S, and then you accidentally hit Control A, and you accidentally hit S, and then you wind up deleting the whole thing, and then finally you wind up saving a blank document, and everything that you've done is gone. That actually happened to me back when I was in high school prior to writing, I think it was a chemistry paper. Yeah, I think it was a chemistry paper, but either way, I remember. It was 10 o'clock the night before this paper was due, and I went from having everything and just doing some minor tweaks to having nothing and having to restart the whole thing over again. If I would have been using Git, that would not have been an issue. Of course, Git wasn't even around when I was in high school, so, well, that's neither here nor there. The big point is that Git would have saved me a lot of trouble and can save you a lot of trouble too. Now, if you're not worried about that happening, Git is still good for you, because if you want to have a history of what's happened to a file all over time, instead of only having the final version, Git is for you. So let's say you're having a first draft and then making changes, and then you didn't like the changes and you want to go back to the way things were, or you're constantly making little improvements over time on a document. Let's say you're an author, or let's say you're working on a project with other people and many people are making changes to the document, and you want to be able to see what everybody's done and pull all the right things in, and Git's for you. Git's definitely for you if that's the case, because then you're not stuck with having only the final version there. So to get started, let's figure out how to download Git. So you would go to git-scm.com. git-scm.com, and then you can either download from the downloads bar, or there's this nice place over here that you can click to download the latest release, and it will download. It'll open, and you can tell it to save the file. Now, I've already saved the file, so I'm not going to download it again. I'm just going to go and get the file that I have to show you. Okay, so do you want to allow this app to make changes to your device? Yes. And this is the new general public license, which basically means that everybody can use Git. Git is free. Yeah, Git is free. Now, there are different components that you can select, and everything that they have by default, Git Bash here and Git GUI, Git GUI here. Get rid of this one here. Git GUI never helped anybody actually gain an understanding of what's going on, and so we're not even going to bother installing it, because all it will do is cause you trouble and confusion. And we continue through the install process. Vim is the default editor. We can leave it as such, though it does leave a little bit to learn. If you don't want to learn how to use Vim, you can use some other editor like Notepad++, but Vim is the default, and Vim is what I keep. If you are just going to be using Git for your own files and for documents and things, I would recommend keeping the default configuration here. But when I do it, I like to switch to use Git and optional tools, so that my tools work in the way that I know that they're going to work. You can pick how you want security to happen. The default configuration is fine, and I think pretty much all the rest of the default configurations are just fine. And so we wait for setup to install Git on our computer. And once Git has been installed, we can then go on to actually using it. And what that means is that you turn a folder into a Git repository. And that means that all of a sudden, once you do that, Git can keep track of everything in there that you let Git keep track of. I don't want to see the release notes. I suppose we can launch Git bash, but it doesn't actually matter. I don't want to launch it right now. So let's say that we decide to open up a file. So now we can actually use Git to see what's happening. So I could use Microsoft Office, but I'm not paying for the license. So I got LibreOffice and I'll make a new file. And it's going to be a new text document. I don't want tips. I don't want tips. And then we can go and do lorem ipsum text. So we just go and get some lorem ipsum text. Okay, this is nice. Now we can copy that and paste into our file. So now we have our file, and it has a bunch of random Latin words, and we save it. You can save whatever you want. So now when you save, you say it wants to save to your documents folder. So what you're going to do is you'll make a new folder and you'll call it whatever the name of your document is. You can call it, I'll just call it lorem. And then we can call this file lorem. Then we can save it. And now if we want to go look at our documents, we could use git bash to navigate, but I'll show you perhaps a little bit easier way to get to where you're starting without having to learn any other commands. You can go and look at your documents, go into your lorem folder, and right click and say git bash here. And then you get this lovely Git terminal where you can type all sorts of commands. So if we type ls, that will list everything in there. And I have my lorem file. But right now Git's not keeping track of anything. So if we want Git to keep track of it, first we need to make it into a Git directory. So we'll run git init. So that means we initialize Git here. And it gives us a .git directory. It's invisible, so if we try to look for it, we're not going to see it. But if we do ls-a, we'll see that there's the .git directory, and in this directory is stored all the information about the changes that we make. So if we want this file to be tracked, we will, I did a git status so we can see, okay, here we have our lock lorem.odt. Okay, so this just means that there's some, we have lorem.odt open here in this editor, and is keeping track of the status. So we don't want to add this file. We only want to add our normal lorem.odt. So we'll do git add lorem. And now if we do a git status here, we can see that we have a new file in green as a change to be committed. Now a commit is like a snapshot. It's almost a snapshot of the way things are. At least you can think of it that way. So we can commit and give it a message, or don't give it a message and it'll force us to give it a message. So if we do git commit -m, and then we can put a set of quotes and say make new lorem ipsum file and fill it with text. Ah, and I have not told them who I am, so I don't have any identity here because I just started a new installation of Git on this machine, and all of this stuff is all new. So I'll need to go and put my email and my username, and I can use a fake email if I want, but I'll use my real one. Configure my email and I'll put my name there, so all of you know who I am and how to get a hold of me if you want. And now that I've done my git config, I'm hitting the up arrow until I get to the previous command. I wanted to make a new lorem ipsum file and fill it with text. And so I committed it. And now if I do a git status, we see that file is no longer staged. It has been committed, and if we do a git log, we can see, here, Sunday, April 26th at 9:49 a.m., year 2020, GMT minus 4 hours, I make a new lorem ipsum file and fill it with text. And now you know, okay, this is what I'm going to find here. But let's say I don't like my lorem ipsum text. I only want this first paragraph. So I just select the rest of it and I delete it. And I can say, this is my second lorem ipsum paragraph. I'm using this as an example to teach about Git. Then I save it. Control S. I save it. And I go back here. And I look to see what we have. I type in git status, and I can see, okay, I've modified this file. It says it's not staged for commit, right? So I have different modifications, and I've yet not put them on the stage to have the snapshot taken. I've not put them there, so I need to put them on there. Now I could do git add lorem.odt, but that would be a waste of the fact that this file is already being tracked by Git anyway. So what I can do is I can do git add -u. And what that does is it means any changes that are under here is changes not staged. This git adds -u the unstaged files. So this is going to git add everything here, which is lorem.odt. And now if I do a git status, you can see, this is green. It's changes. It's ready to be committed. It's on the stage, ready to have the snapshot taken. So now I can git commit -m, remove all but the first paragraph, and make new example paragraph 2. And whatever it is that you want to tell about your change, you can put this into your commit message. And now, you now have 2 commits. You now have 2 commits. This is the most recent, and then this one here is your first state that you kept track of. So if you want to go back to the original file, you can do git checkout. And now you can select this number here, this hash value, right click, copy, look here, right click, paste, unlink a file lorem.odt, that's perfectly fine. Okay, what I might need to do is close this one. Okay. Yeah, I had to close the file, and now I'm going to have to open it again because OpenOffice was keeping, or LibreOffice was was keeping track of the file and wasn't letting me make these changes to go back to the other state. So now I can go and open the old file, and it's not in its old state it's not in the new state anymore. It went back to the previous change when I had all this other information here. So if I close it again, and my git log is only here, so I can't see what I've done before, but I can do git branch. I can see, oh, I got a master branch, which is where we were checked out earlier. You can see that we're checked out on the master branch. So I can now say, okay, git checkout master, and then whatever the most up-to-date thing on master is, I get to see now. So if I do a git log, you can see, okay, I'm back to this commit here. I'm back to this commit here, and I will have removed all but this first paragraph and blah, 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 blah. So I decide to open this file again. So I'll open it in LibreOffice. What's going to happen is, I want to get my second lorem ipsum paragraph. And let's say I want to make some other change. I just delete the whole thing and say, I've made my point. This is going to be the second change I make to show another commit. Save. Now I can go back and see, let's look. Get status. I've changed lorem.odt again. So git add -u, git add unstaged, git commit -m. You can use single quotes or double quotes. Make yet another change for the YouTubes. Smiley face. And you can see everything that I've done here is up to date. And if I do a git log, you can see, okay, I made another change for the YouTubes. This is where I'm currently looking. And then here are two older states that I can go back to if I like. Now, let's say that I want this second file, but I want a new commit. I could check out this commit, but then I would not be on this branch. Okay, if I do git checkout this commit here, also double click, right click, and paste. There's a quicker way of doing it. We have to, of course, close the file. Let's try that again. We do a git log. Now we get this one in the previous commit, but that's not good. So we can git checkout master, and we're back on the master branch. Do a git log. But I want the lorem file from here. So what I can do is git checkout that commit lorem.odt. So that what that means is that will take the picture that I add of the lorem file at this point and put it back on the stage. It's back on the stage now that I've done a git status. It's back here. So what I can say then is, okay, git commit -m I would say revert to second, revert to whatever I'm reverting it to. Revert lorem.odt to the part where I kept only one paragraph of text, or whatever I want to call it. And now if I do a git log, it's getting a little bit longer. So I'll make this a little bit taller. I scroll. I will try another. I'll get the up arrow key. And now you can see, okay, this is the first commit. This is the next commit. This is the third commit. And this is where I go and I make lorem.odt look the same as it did in this commit. And to prove it, we can go and open LibreOffice and find this is our final state. This is what our document looks like. Now think about what can happen. Imagine what happens if you decide you're going to do your research and you have outlines and you have all these other things going on. You can save all these other files and add them so that you can see how the project went over time. You can see all the different things that you're adding. You can see all the changes that you've made and pick whatever you like. You don't need to stick with only one file. You can add as many files as you like. And that is the beauty of using Git to help keep track of the things that you're doing. So now you don't only save things so you get the newest thing, you can see the whole history. So that's about all I have to share with you today. I figured that would be enough of an intro to Git. I'll put the commands into the description below, and you can give it a shot if you like. Thank you very much for your time. I hope that you have a good day. Bye-bye.